Let's go on to our next example here. In a 25-year period, the percentage of the world's population living in developed countries decreased from 27% to 20%. This really surprised me. Express the change, one, as an absolute change in terms of percentage points, and two, as a relative change in terms of percentage points. So by now you should understand absolute. Nothing is compared to another thing. It's just going to be the new value minus the reference or original value. And then as far as the percentage or the relative change goes, you're going to take that answer and compare it out of the original or reference amount. Go ahead. All right, so as far as the absolute goes, it's 20% minus 27% because it decreased from 27. That was the original. The original was 27. So the new, which is 20, minus 27% means it's gone negative 7%. And that makes sense because it's decreased, okay? And then the relative change would be that decrease, which was negative 7, out of the original amount, which was 20, and that is negative 35%. If you're concerned about how to get that into a percent, just do on your calculator negative 7 divided by 20 and move that decimal two places to the left. Okay. Next, solving percentage problems. You purchase a shirt with a labeled or pre-tax price of $21. The local sales tax rate is 6%. What is your final cost, including tax? Go ahead, stop and start. You know, so often as a teacher, I taught algebra, geometry, trig, all of those. You would hear students look at you and they'd say, what are we ever going to use this stuff for? And a lot of the times they were completely right. For example, I mean, who's going to use the law of sines and the law of cosines when they get older? Very few people. But percents, you use them constantly. So if you were ever thinking of saying, well, what do I need this stuff for? The answer is pretty much everything. You need it all the time. So if I want to find the final cost is the labeled price plus the tax. You know it's plus, right? Government's not going to decrease the price. The government's not going to decrease the price of something by the tax. Heck no, the tax is something they add to the item so they can get it out of your pocket and into their hands. It is the nature of governments. So the final cost is the labeled price plus 6% of that labeled price. In this case, the labeled price was $21. What we need to figure out is what's the extra 6%. Now, there's a few ways to do this. Back in elementary school or middle school or high school, they may have said to you, well, first let's figure out 6% of $21. And once we figure out that 6% of $21, we'll add that price to $21. And that still works. It's not going to change. However, based on what we've learned today, there's another way to look at it. See, the labeled price is 100% of the labeled price. It is what it is. It's the whole thing, 100%. But you're adding now 6%. So you've got 100% plus 6%, which means now you could do, this is kind of like factoring here, 106% of the labeled price, okay? So 106%, which is 1.06 times 21 is $22.26. So I think it's easier to add 0.06, which is 6%, to 1 than it is to calculate the tax on $21, which happens to work out to be $1.26, and add it to 21. So this is a little quicker and more effective way to do things, something we are hoping you are literate in. Next up, purchase a car with a labeled pre-tax price of $19,200. Local sales rate 7.2%. What's the final cost? Go ahead. So again, you could figure out 7.2% of 19,200 and you could add it to the cost of 19,200, but we're trying to take it to another level here. The car's price is 100% and the tax price is 7.2%. So altogether, you're going to pay 107.2% of that sticker price that you have. So 107%, 107.2% is 1.072. Remember, move that decimal 2 places. When you go to a decimal, you move to the left. And then of means multiply. So 1.072 times 19,200 is $20,582.40. So it's kind of heartbreaking when you walk in and you're going to buy this vehicle, and the vehicle turns around, and you think you're only going to have to spend 19,200, but it's 20,582.40 with the tax, and we haven't even gotten into registration yet. So just real quick, by comparison, I just bought myself a Dodge Ram 2500 Cummins turbo diesel truck with some really nice add-ons. So that truck's base price that I paid for it, I think I paid about $74,500 for it. And up here, the tax rate is a flat 8%. So you think, oh, well, the truck cost you $74,500. No, not quite. It was really $80,460. So I darn near paid another $1,000 in taxes. I wasn't a happy camper about that. Okay, next up. If you want to figure out just what the tax is, that's important. Then you only do the 0.072. You just convert the tax to a decimal and multiply by the 19,200. That'll give you just the tax. Or you could take the new price and subtract the original price, and that'll give you the same exact tax value. Okay? All right. Your turn. Okay, so a little bit of a different way to look at it here. The final cost. They're not telling you what the original cost was, and then you figure out after tax. They're telling, well, you know what? After tax, the number at the bottom of the receipt is $3,706.31. The local sales tax rate is 8.1%. What was the pre-tax price? Well, again, 100% of the cost of the item plus the 8.1% means it was 1.081. Okay? Right, 108.1%, move that decimal 2 places. And you know that 1.081 times X had to give you that whole price after tax, which is $3,706.31 divided by 1.081, and the original price had to be $3,428.59. Okay? So a little different way to reason with percents there. It's very similar. This time, instead of giving me the two numbers on the left and you get the number on the right, they gave you the number on the right, so you have to divide to get the number on the left. Okay? Next up, percentages and possible abuses. Beware of shifting reference values. This is a biggie. Okay? Example, you receive a 5% pay raise followed by a 5% pay cut. After the two changes in pay, is your salary the same when you started? What if your boss came up to you and said, listen, I need you to do me a favor here. I'm going to give you a raise just to kind of look good, but then I'm going to take it back, and I'll cut your pay by 5%. So first time 5% up, next time 5% down. And if you hear him say that, you should say, no, I don't want a percent, because the percent changes things. Show you what I mean. If you go 5% up, the first 5%, the pay raise, is based only on the lower amount. But the second 5% cut, that's taken from a higher amount, the amount after the raise. Here's a very specific example. If you get paid $100 and you get a 5% raise, then 105% of $100 is $105. But then you get deducted 5%. That means you're only going to get 95%, right? Because you're deducted or you're less than. So 100 minus 5% is 95%. Of 105, that's 99.75. So it doesn't work out evenly because you're not taking 5% of the same thing. In the first case, you're taking 5% of a smaller number. So in the second case, since you're taking 5% of a bigger number, you actually get a bigger pay cut in an absolute sense. Another abuse of percentages. Less than nothing. Can you decrease your caloric intake by 150% to lose weight? No, you can't decrease your caloric intake by 150%. The most you can decrease it by is 100%. 100% is your whole caloric intake. So if you decrease by 150%, you can't do that. there's only 100% to take away. You can increase by 150% if you eat like a pig, but you can't decrease. Okay, next, abuses of percentages. Don't average percentages. Suppose you got 70% of the questions correct on the midterm and 90% on the final. Does that mean you had to get 80% of your questions correct? What if the midterm only had 10 questions and the final had 100 questions? You've got to compare it out of the total questions given. So those are some things to be careful about with percentages. And we have obviously a short little sheet to go. If you make it through the sheet and you're doing really well, and then on the next video, we always do some review questions and you're like, nah, I got this, I'm rocking it, you're in great shape. If not, go back and look over a couple of these sections or reach out to me, possible office hours, possibly make a video to correct any misunderstandings. Have a fantastic day.